I mean, it's actually not that bad if you squint really, really hard and imagine you're playing a different game. Welcome, cavemen, cave people, cave dwellers. Welcome, cave dwellers, to the first of many Game Dev Fridays. I know this video is coming out on Saturday. Stick with me. In the future, they will be coming out on Friday. Every Friday, to be exact. Content schedules are not really my thing. Neither is making games yet, but you'll see that in just a minute. That's why I'm going to be posting a video every Friday to work on it. You got to start somewhere, and this is certainly somewhere. Hi, my name is Patrick Nyland, and in this video series, I'll basically be learning how to make video games for your enjoyment. These videos are not tutorials. I am certainly not qualified to make tutorials for game development. Rather, they're going to be a look into my journey from square one to hopefully becoming a successful game developer. Let me make it very clear, I'm starting with very little knowledge, so be nice in the comments. Also, if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel, it would really help me out. Anyway, I'm going to be starting this journey by weaning myself off tutorials. I've followed so many great game developing tutorials in the past, and while it's great, I think it's time I start to learn how to do these things on my own. So for the first few Game Dev Friday videos, I'm going to be starting with a project that I made in a tutorial, and then I'm going to be branching off and doing my own thing. For these early videos, I'm basically going to be making copycats of games that already exist, and then once I kind of learn a little bit more, then I'm going to try to get more original with it. Trust me, I have plenty of original ideas, but maybe I should learn the basics first before I plunge headfirst into a passion project. For this first devlog, I'll be building off a game that I used a tutorial by the Game Maker's Toolkit to create. What I really liked about that tutorial is it really pushed you to learn what you need to learn so you don't need to use more tutorials in the future. Which is the goal. I can't follow tutorials forever. Can I? Anyway, the game that tutorial taught me to create is a basic bare bones version of Flappy Bird. I don't know if I can say, I guess I can say that, right? Yeah, I definitely have to refresh on what I can and can't say on YouTube. Saying the name of a game that you're cloning is definitely fine though, right? Obviously, I would never publish a version of a game that I clone for money. And to be fair, whatever I create is going to be nowhere near as good as the original. I just want to make sure I'm not stepping on any toes. Although, to be fair, you can't even get Flappy Bird anymore. Didn't the creator take it down because themselves because of it? Oh, it says he took the game down because it was too addictive after making $50,000 a day. I promise you this, I will never take a game down, especially if it's making $50,000 a day. I might not update old games because keeping stuff up to date can be a lot of work, but I'm not going to delete anything. And that includes these videos, no matter how embarrassing they are to look at in a couple of years, or how much potential future employers dislike them. Please hire me. But yeah, while this version of Flappy Bird that I created from the tutorial is functional, there's a lot that needs to be improved. And that was by design of the tutorial. As you can see, I can go under the pipes, I can go over them, it's a mess. So the first thing I thought to do was make the pipes longer. That way you couldn't really easily get under them or on top of them, and that way you couldn't see the bottom of the pipe when it spawned in. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest here. It definitely took me a little bit longer than it should have to complete this task, but hey, I eventually got it, and I'm learning. And as I do it, I'm gonna get better. So yeah, now the pipes are longer, but you can still get under them. And at this point, I realized the problem isn't really the size of the pipes. It's more that I can go below the bottom of the screen, which is something I should fix. After about 2 hours on Visual Studio trying to figure this out, I realized I didn't really understand how to do it. So I did a little research to help me out. Some people are against ChatGPT and AI, but for me, I think it's a great learning resource. And for me, I think it's very important that when I do take code from it, I understand every single line before I use it, which is when a problem emerged. You see, this code worked at keeping the player within the screen, but upon changing some numbers, I realized it was not working for the reason I thought it was. Based on my understanding, with the numbers set at 0, this bird should not move at all, but it falls. I then changed the maximum and minimum to a massive number, only to find that the bounds did not change at all. After spending another hour trying to figure out how this code was actually forcing the bird to stay on the screen, I gave up and decided to solve this problem with a different method. Also, if you could not tell by how shitty the bird looks, I created all this art completely by myself, and I am not an artist at all. I mean, I made this in high school, but for the most part, I don't do art. Anyway, I realized while I do need to eventually learn how to solve this problem using a script, in this case I don't need one, because the game needs a floor, and I can just make the floor collidable with the player, and then voila, problem solved. That's what's so fun about game development. There are so many different ways to solve the same exact problem, and there's no one way that's necessarily better than others. So close. Yeah, I forgot to remove the gravity from the floor, but once I did that, it worked like a charm. And then to prevent the bird from going too high, I just made the pipes on the top really, really high so that you can't possibly get on top of them. So now everything was working great, but it just felt incomplete. It needed. That's right, I created my own music using Basca Seal, or however you say it. At this point, I feel like I had a completed game, but it was just Flappy Bird, but worse. So I decided to add a little something different and create asteroids. You might be laughing at how I created these asteroids, but you know what? I don't think they came out half bad. I'm lying. I'm so ashamed of myself. But you know what? The point of this is not to make a polished version of Flappy Bird with meteors. It's to learn how to create a game. So I didn't think it really made sense to spend too much time on the art here. Although anything would be better than this. So yeah, I created an asteroid game object, added physics to it, created a script to spawn it, and everything worked well. Oh, except for the fact that the asteroids collide with the pipes and each other. That was sort of an issue. This was actually sick, but it's not what I was trying to do. I might actually use this mechanic for a future game because it makes it pretty unforgiving, but I thought it would be important for now to understand why this wasn't working. That's actually a trap that I'm really trying to avoid falling into in this game development journey. It's easy to see something that sort of works and be like, well, it's close enough, but it's another thing to actually understand what's going on so you learn from it. On one hand, the asteroids bumping into stuff was cool. At the same time, that's not what I was trying to do at all. When I implemented the asteroids, I thought they would only interact with the player and not interact with the pipes, so it's important that I understand why that's not what happened. Even if I do decide to keep the funky collisions later on, I should understand why they're happening. To solve this problem, I learned that you can go into project settings and manually determine what physics objects interact with each other, which is really neat and definitely will come in handy later on. And there you have it, Flappy Bird with asteroids. The only thing that's really missing from this game is there's nothing you can do if the asteroid falls right between the two pipes. So I did what any logical game developer would do. Have the bird breathe fireballs. Now this game is starting to take on its own identity. The only issue is, like everything else I've added to this game, the fireballs don't work. It turns out the reason they weren't working is that the only objects I made able to interact with each other were obstacles and the player. Once I fixed that by making it so that obstacles that were also meteors interacted with the fireballs, everything worked perfectly. And with that, the first game that I've created in this game development journey is sort of complete. I mean, I'll be honest, it's absolute trash, but you gotta start somewhere, right? Overall, I'm pretty happy with how that went. With each Game Dev Friday, the hope is to make a video game and a devlog that's a little bit better than the last week. Let me know in the comments if you have an idea for a game I should make a clone of next week. See you next Friday.